"All unopened," he was saying disgustedly. Then he picked up a heavy square object with square corners, open on 3 sides. "What the hell is this?" "A book," I informed him. Renee opened it. "Hey, a real antique book. Must be worth at least 1,000. Look at the size of that print. You can read it with the naked eye, like an instrument panel. Well, here's a little piece of your fortune." He tossed it to me and went on examining the lunch packages. He didn't trust me to help him because I wouldn't be able to tell if they'd been opened and something inserted. I hung the book by the covers and let the pages flip open. Nothing fell out. I sighed. I'd have to go through the whole damn thing. "I'm going back to your ship and read in comfort," I told Renee. "You're no help here anyway," he said, putting the lunch packages in a large plastic bag he'd found somewhere. "No use letting these go to waste." I didn't tell him I had the clue to Uncle Isidore's fortune in my hand. He didn't know Uncle Isidore, so he wouldn't have believed me. Nothing is more uncomfortable than reading an antique book. There is no way to lie back and flash it on a screen, or run the tape over your reading glasses while you lie prone and relax. You have to hold it. If you try to hold it lying down, your arms get tired. If you put it down on a table to read, your neck gets tired from bending over. And the pages keep flipping and making you lose your place. Still, I read it all the way through. It wasn't too bad. Not like Edgar Guest, of course, who was the only ancient author I liked in general studies. But I found there was a sort of Grilch hop beat to it that reminded me of the Footlooses I used to go to in middle school. I grinned. It was funny to think of now. I found no clues in the book. The only thing to do was read it again, more carefully. I noticed there was one poem with a real Grilch hop beat. I thought suddenly of Sally, my regular partner at the Footlooses. She was very blonde, and she affected a green crest wave in her hair, pulled over her forehead with a diamond clip. She was a beauty all right, but she was a little silly. And she had that tendency to overdress. No, I sighed, she wouldn't have done for a studs and neck-clasp man. But I couldn't help wondering where she was now, and what she was like now. Did she remember me, and did she think about me when she heard that song we used to dance to, because it was about a girl named Sally? Once I knew a girl named Sally, met her at a Footloose rally. I began humming the old Grilch hop tune to the ancient poem in Uncle Algy's book. It was fantastic how closely it fitted, though of course the words in the poem were plain silly. But imagine finding a poem with a perfect Grilch hop beat before anybody even knew what a Grilch was. Before Venus was even discovered. Jump on both feet. Hop 3 times on left foot. Jump. Hop 3 times on right foot. The rhythm was correct, right down to the breakaway and 4-step at the end of each run. It was while I was singing this poem to a Grilch hop tune that I noticed the clue. The poem was named The Dodo, and the rhyming was very smooth until I came to the lines, "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, though, I said, art like a raven, ghastly, grim, and ancient Dodo, wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the Dodo, "Isidore." Now, the author had gone to a lot of trouble in the previous verse not to break the Grilch hop rhyme scheme. He made "thereat is" rhyme with "lattice," and "that is." Why did he follow shaven and raven with dodo? Furthermore, it had not struck me the first time I read the poem quickly that there was anything odd about a bird being named Isidore. People who keep pet Grilches frequently name them after famous reed players, and Isidore is a common name. On the other hand, it was my uncle's name, and the word dodo didn't rhyme as it should. I got out a magnifying glass to examine the ancient print. Sure enough, it had been tampered with. The print looked so odd to me anyway, I hadn't noticed the part that had been changed. But it was obvious under the glass that dodo had been substituted for a word of almost equal length. The same with Isidore. I went over the whole poem now carefully to see which words had been changed. There weren't many. White in a couple of places, dodo and Isidore wherever they occurred. An O in the line, perfume from an unseen censor. S in the line, wretch I cried, Isidore hath sent thee. Sitting back, I thought about what I had read. It made no sense at all. Was I to look for a white bird, grim, ungainly, ghastly? And what if I found him? Why was he like a raven? What was this perfume from an unseen censor? I could picture the ghost of Uncle Isidore, knowing his financial imagination, as the unseen censor, because he always criticized me. Was I to look for perfume? Did he have a fortune in perfume stowed somewhere? It seemed to me it would take an awful lot of even the most expensive perfume to comprise a fortune. I decided to start with the bird. I went outside Renee's ship and looked around. No birds. "Renee," I called. He was still looking through Uncle Izzy's ship. "Have you seen an ungainly white bird around?" "What?" he snapped, sticking an indignant face out of the door. "I guess you haven't. Can your woodsy lore tell if there are birds on this planet?" "Obviously," Renee said. "I don't know why you can't find your own spoor. I noticed the droppings immediately." "Where are the birds?" "How the hell would I know?" But he couldn't contain his special knowledge. "They're probably night birds," he said. "Oh, yes." It checked. "Wandering from the night's Plutonian shore." He looked at me suspiciously. "You ever had a nervous breakdown?" "I have not. I test 10 to 9 on job adjustment and 10 to 8 on life adjustment." "Some people crack on alien planets," he said. "I have a padded room in my ship. You'd be surprised how often I have to use it." I told him about the poem I found in Uncle Izzy's book. "We look for a white bird," I said, "or perfume." "You're nuts," he pointed out with some justice, because he hadn't known Uncle Isidore. "How do you know these changes weren't made by somebody else a long time ago? Maybe this ancient printer printed it wrong and had to change it afterward." I don't think they were that primitive back then. But I didn't know what back then meant, or how primitive ancient printing was. All I knew for sure was that as the poem stood, it sounded as if somebody had loused up a perfect grillch-hop rhyme. And Uncle Izzy knew I was a grillch-hop expert in middle school, and this was the only real grillch-hop rhythm in the book. What's more, Uncle Izzy could depend on me to go over that book in painstaking detail, because a studs and neck-clasp man has to be good on details. "All right," I said. "You look your way, and I'll look my way." "We're not looking any more anyway today," Renee said, emerging from Uncle Isidore's ship, loaded down with removings. "It'll be night and below freezing in half an hour." "What do you think," I asked, "a dodo would like to eat?" "A what?" "The birds. I want to put something out to attract them. Crackers or something?" "I think you're crazy. If you have any idea of sitting outside to wait for them, you'll freeze to death. Not only that, there's no moon. You wouldn't be able to see your hand in front of your face." "How do the birds see?" "Maybe they aren't night birds. Maybe they migrated somewhere else." "And if I use a light, I might scare them away," I mused. "Well, maybe I'm not supposed to wait outside anyway." Renee went in and switched on the heat and lights. "Leave the outside port open," I said. "Why?" "So the birds can knock." "Can what?" "It's possible," I said, defensively.